Hello, my name is Winta Alexander, and I'm a clinical fellow at the Student Counseling Services at the Wellness Center at the CUNY Graduate Center. And today I'll be talking about a topic titled Midlife and Later Life Career Transitions, Thriving in Graduate School as a Second or Third Career Student. First, we'll talk about what constitutes this transition. I want to start by grounding us in who we're talking about when we say second or third career students. Typically, these are individuals who are returning to school after already having experience in the workforce, sometimes after many years, and are now moving in a new direction. And what makes this different from traditional students is that this is usually a very intentional decision. It's not just the next step, it's a response to experiences, values, or changing life circumstances. It also often involves an identity shift. You're not just learning something new, you're redefining how you see yourself professionally. And importantly, this transition is happening alongside other roles like work, family, or caregiving, which adds complexity but also adds depth. While returning to school is something many adults consider, as we can see here from this data, which is from a 2025 survey of over 1,000 mid-career professionals in the United States, second and third career students are still seen as a distinct and often under-recognized group. And what makes this important is that these transitions are not just about education. They involve unique psychological, cognitive, and emotional demands. And this experience is one that is often undersupported and not fully understood. So, what brings people back to school? Coming back to school later in life is usually part of a larger process. For example, for many people, it's about career change or redirection. This might happen because earlier career choices was made under different circumstances, like financial pressure or limited exposure. And now there's more space to choose differently. Some people might return back to school because they're currently burnt out or their role has plateaued. And with burnout or plateau, people may have been in high demand roles for years. And over time, chronic stress or a lack of growth can lead to disengagement. So going back to school becomes a way to reset or regain a sense of direction. Some people might come back to school because they desire meaning or impact. The desire for meaning or impact often becomes stronger in midlife. Developmentally, people start shifting from external validation, like salary or status, to more internal values, like purpose or contribution. And with life transitions, things like family changes, health concerns, or identity shifts can disrupt your current path. And these disruptions often create an opportunity or sometimes a necessity to reconsider what comes next. At the same time, there are real challenges and there are reasons why these challenges may show up. An example of a common challenge is adjusting to academic demands. And that can be hard because you're shifting back into a structured learning environment that may feel very different from your prior work setting. Another challenge that second or third career students often face is feeling out of place, and this often comes from differences in age, life stage, or priorities. You might not see yourself reflected in your peers, which can impact your sense of belonging. Another common challenge is balancing school, work, and family. Balancing multiple roles is especially challenging because, unlike traditional students, you may be managing multiple responsibilities simultaneously. Another common challenge is having high self-expectations and perfectionism. And high self-expectations and perfectionism can show up because this decision to return back to school likely carries weight. You may feel like you need to get it right, especially if this transition required sacrifice. With that said, there are strengths that you bring. Typically, second or third career students have real world experience. And this matters because learning is not just about observing information, it's also about applying this information. And you already have frameworks for how things work in practice. Another strength that second and third career students typically bring is time management and responsibility. And this likely comes from years of balancing competing demands. So even though school is demanding, it's not your first time typically managing pressure. Second or third career students also tend to return with a defined goal, which enhances persistence as well as engagement. So, with that said, I would like you to reflect on one strength that you can think of from your past career that you see showing up now, and then why do you think that may be? And I want you to reflect on that as we begin to transition into the next section, which is now that we're grounded in the experience of understanding what this transition is, let's look at what's happening internally and what may help you move through it. One strength that I believe deserves its own attention is emotional maturity as well as resilience. This is what we might think of as the effective side of this transition. Through prior work and life experiences, many of you have developed a greater capacity to manage stress, regulate emotions, as well as navigate uncertainty. And that matters because transitions, especially a transition such as returning back to school as a second or third career student, that's not just cognitive. They're deeply emotional processes, and there's often emotions that come up, such as uncertainty, self doubt, excitement, loss, hope, all happening at once. And what we see in the research is that people who are able to tolerate ambiguous situations and stay engaged even when things feel unclear tend to navigate these transitions more successfully. With that said, resilience also comes into play. It's not just about pushing through, but as the ability to adapt, reflect, and reorient when things don't go as expected. And importantly, these effective processes support what we refer to as meaning making. which is how you interpret your experiences, and then identity reconstruction, which is central to career change. So, this isn't just a personal trait, it's actually a core mechanism that helps people move through and make sense of the transition of returning back to school as a second or third career student. I also want to highlight the cognitive side of this transition, which is referring to how people are thinking through this experience. One piece is expectations. You may come in expecting to perform at the same level you did in your previous career. And when that doesn't happen right away, it can feel discouraging. There's also a process of reevaluating what you already know. You may be figuring out what transfers and what doesn't transfer, and that takes mental effort. Some people may also engage in more self monitoring or self critique, which is paying close attention to how they're doing, sometimes in a way that increases pressure. There's also a lot of decision making under uncertainty, whether that's about courses, direction, career paths, without always having clear answers. And lastly, how you interpret your progress matters. If you see challenges as evidence that you don't belong, that can be discouraging. But if you see them as part of the learning process, it can support persistence. So this isn't just about what you're learning, it's also about how you're thinking about your experience. I also want to talk about psychological themes that might come up for you, such as imposter feelings, which might look like I don't belong here. And you might feel that way because you're moving from being competent in one area to being a beginner in another. And that shift can temporarily shake your confidence. Comparison may also happen across age and experience. And comparison happens because humans naturally evaluate themselves relative to others. So, within the context of graduate school, you might compare yourself to younger peers or to your past self when you felt more established. What also might come up is letting go of previous identity, which is difficult because your prior role likely became part of how you saw yourself. So, changing careers isn't just about skills, it's also about identity reconstruction. And meaning making becomes central because people are trying to understand, how does my past connect to where I am now? And when we think about bridging this gap, this helps reduce the stress. So these experiences are not signs of failure, they're part of how people adapt to change. So I like to talk about what helps and why do these strategies work. Breaking work into manageable pieces helps because it reduces overwhelm and makes tasks feel more achievable. Using structured time systems can help reduce cognitive load so you don't have to constantly decide what to do next. Seeking mentorship early is helpful because it reduces uncertainty and provides guidance from someone who already understands the system. Connecting with peers, especially in graduate school, regardless of differences, supports belonging, which is a key factor in persistence as well as well being. And practicing self compassion matters because harsh self criticism can actually reduce motivation and increase stress. So being supportive towards yourself helps sustain effort over time. I want to end by bringing these ideas together and thinking about how you move forward in a way that feels intentional as well as sustainable. One of the most important shifts is recognizing that your prior experience is not something separate, it's a resource. You also bring ways of thinking, problem solving, and navigating challenges that absolutely apply here at graduate school, even if the content is new. Part of this process is identifying what transfers, such as what skills, what perspectives, or strengths from your past career show up in how you approach your work now. It's also about building a connection between your past and your present. Instead of seeing this as starting over, it can be helpful to think about how your previous experiences led you here and how they inform where you're going. Another key piece is redefining what success looks like. What success looked like earlier in your career may not fully align with what matters to you now. And finally, focusing on sustainability, thinking about what allows you to move forward in a way that feels manageable, meaningful, and aligned with your current priorities. So, this isn't just about getting through your graduate program, it's also about building something that fits who you are now. And lastly, how we at the Wellness Center, at the CUNY Graduate Center, can help. We have several services that I have outlined here on the left, including short-term individual counseling, which lasts from 10 to 12 sessions, couples counseling, group counseling, academic support groups. We also have academic consultations. We also have workshops and wellness videos, such as this one here. We'll also be able to assist with referral services, and we can also provide mental health education for those who are interested. Our contact information is outlined on the right, including our phone number, our email, our address, and lastly, our website to find more information. Thank you for watching.